It's time for the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast. Powerful and liberating business strategies you can start in 5 minutes or less. Now, here's your host, Dean Soto.
Hey, this is Dean Soto, founder of FreedomIn5Minutes.com and ProSulam.com. And we're here again with another Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast episode. Today's topic is this: how to best utilize your virtual systems architect, or VSA, as we call it. Part 2. That and more coming up. All right, so this is part two of a previous conversation that we had on how to, this is specifically for our clients at ProSulam.com. And it's basically how to best utilize your virtual systems architect. What are some of the best practices? What are the things that a lot of our more successful people do when they are using a virtual systems architect? And if you don't know what a virtual systems architect is, in summary, they are somebody that you can show them how to do a task that you never want to do again. You show them via video, they document it, and then they do it for you. And you are completely free from that task from here on out. And you can do that over and over and over again until your business is 100% fully automated with some of the best and most intelligent and even good-looking virtual systems architects. So that being said, let's get into it right now. All right, so it's funny because I take for granted a lot of this stuff, and so I have to kind of think back to when I first started doing this way back in the day, and how personally I use them, and then also how some of our best people use them. And so it's a little bit hard sometimes, but I got this. We can do this. We can make this happen. All right, so all that being said, all right, so best practice tip number 1 is now. Sorry. Right before we get into this, the last one we did was all on kind of the negatives, like what you should not do. Okay, so we're going to talk more about the positives. What should you do with your virtual systems architect? Okay, so best practice tip number 1: they are not robots, so don't treat them like that. One of the things whenever I'm on a sales call with a client, a lot of the thing that comes up is that because people think that just because a virtual systems architect, a VSA, focuses so much on systems and process, because they are so focused on documenting your systems, documenting your processes step by step in detail, so much detail that even you can have your grandma do it. Because they're so focused on this process that they are going to be robotic, right? And that's the temptation of thinking that just because you're creating a step-by-step system, that all you're going to do is have these robots that are doing a task over and over without any thought, right? Well, that's a big misconception, because if you look at the most powerful, the biggest organizations in the world, for example, Amazon. Think of Amazon, how big of a company Amazon is. Not only do they have these massive warehouse with robots and personnel. I mean, these things are humongous. They have these huge warehouses with so many moving parts and so many people who are in charge of so many different things, making decisions on a daily basis. On top of that, they have Zappos, which is a shoe company. They have Audible, the audiobook company. They have Whole Foods. Remember, Amazon owns Whole Foods, so they're running Whole Foods, all these different things. And what do all of those different businesses have in common? They all have an extreme focus on documented systems, and processes for their employees. Now, are all of their employees, every single one of their employees, are they robots? Are they not able to think? Like, think of all of the C-level executives. Think of all the director level. Think of all the mid-level managers. Think of the lower level managers, all the way down to the janitors that support. Do you really think that all of them are acting like robots and they can't think on their own and they can't make decisions on the fly and they can't do anything that's innovative? Of course not. Of course not. But they have the safety net. They have the bare bones standard, the bottom line standard of having their documented procedures, documented processes, systems, things like that, right? Those documented systems allow bad employees to do the work of a good employee. They allow good employees do the work of a great employee, and they allow great employees to make decisions that grow the company. Okay? And so when you're thinking of your virtual systems architect, you have to think of them as being a clone of you. Think of all of the things that you learned that you're doing right now in your business. Did you know how to do those things like right off the bat? No. Is everything that you know that you're doing in your business right now, every single thing, is every single thing in that something that really only you could do in the entire world? Like, there's literally nobody else in the entire world that could do it? Of course not. Is what you're doing really so skilled that you could not document it into a process? No. And so the temptation that you need to get away from is thinking of of your virtual systems architect as just an admin, just an administrative person. They are a clone of you. So if you're doing copywriting, if you're doing marketing, social media marketing, if you're doing email marketing, if you're doing anything, all of those different things that you are doing right now in your role as business owner, all of those different things can be done by the virtual systems architect as well, because they're cloning exactly what you're doing right now. I mean, when you're doing accounting or bookkeeping, are you doing some really crazy thing, like where it's not the same thing the next time and the next time and the next time and the next time, where it's literally like you're trying a new bookkeeping framework, you're trying a new skill every single week? No, right? You might have some variance every now and then, but overall, it's going to be the same. So that's number one. Treat your virtual systems architect like a clone of you, okay? Because they can do virtually everything that you're doing now, okay? The second best practice, sorry, there's a truck coming right now. I'm by a road right now. The second best practice is spending at least 5 minutes a day creating a video of something you're already doing. All right? Something that you're already doing. Even if it's something that you do not think a virtual systems architect could do for you, somebody in your business is going to have to do it, right? Because part of the value of having a VSA, is that you are creating a scalable and, best of all, sellable business, right? Everything in your business is going to be documented. Everything in your can you imagine an investor who's looking at your business and sees that you have every single process for every single person documented step by step in detail, so that he knows everything that everything is going to get done right? So he doesn't have to he or she doesn't have to buy themselves into a job, you will be able to sell your business for an amazing multiple, right? And so the key is to spend at least 5 minutes a day recording something you're already doing. You're going to have to do it anyway. This is where I think a lot of people who are new clients to Prosulum, a lot of people think that they have to start documenting stuff that they rarely ever do, right? Stuff that they have to start documenting all this, just everything under the sun. But no, all you have to do is press the record button on something you're doing right now. Because as you do that, you're going to, if you do that every day, you're going to come to a point where, you've recorded pretty much everything that you've ever done. And it was not even a single, aside from the 1 second it takes to press the record button and then start talking, you're not adding additional time to what you're already doing. You're already a busy business owner, right? You're already inundated with work. And so why add more stress? Just press the record button on what you're already doing. You're doing it anyway. When you're done, hand it off to your virtual systems architect. Let them document it. If you want them to do that task from then on, just say, hey, I want you to do this task from now on. If not, you can hand it to somebody else to do it. Maybe an intern or somebody that you have in the United States that you hired or in your local community, right? So don't add more work to what you're doing. Literally just press the record button on what you're currently doing right now. And then best practice number 3 is understanding all of the various things that a virtual systems architect can do. But they can do there are so many different virtual assistant companies out there, virtual assistant agencies out there that they have virtual assistants, VAs that can do pretty much anything you can think of. But the difference is their VAs, because they don't have VSAs. We are the only ones who have VSAs, virtual systems architects. Their virtual assistants, their VAs, will only do that one thing well, right? Our VSAs can do anything that you're currently doing or anything that your current staff is doing. And that's because they're documenting the process and the best part is they're going to do it exactly like you are doing it or your team member is doing it, right? In the same way, because even though somebody might be a great email marketer, they're not going to do email marketing the same way your company does, with the same tone, the same culture, the same grammar, the same vocabulary, all of those things, the same the same type of copywriting. You're not going to have the same. It's not. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter if you hired the number one copywriter in the entire world. Even they are not going to know what was successful with your company. They still have to get used to it. And of course, they're only going to be doing copywriting for you, right? So that being said, here are a list of things that you could have a virtual systems architect do, and you could have them do multiples of those things. One person can do 2, 3, 4, sometimes even 5 different things because you're showing them how you're already doing it. If you already have a proven system, you already have a proven method, they'll document it and then they'll do it, okay? So some of the things that they can do email marketing. So number 1, they can do email marketing. They could do podcast pre and post processing. They can do content marketing to include your podcast and everything, the blog posts and syndication and everything from your podcast, which is how this particular podcast, if you go to prosulum.com and you go to the blog, you'll notice that every single podcast, and thank you, Mark, for doing this. I appreciate it. Usually it's Mark that's doing the blog posts on this. Amazing blog post. I do the podcast. He does all of the content that's based around it, right? So if you go and check out the blog posts, he goes and does that. And then on top of that, he does like 15 other things, right? He's amazing. So Mark, you're amazing. I don't know if I've ever told you that, but you are absolutely amazing. All right. So they can do content marketing. They can do social media marketing. We have several virtual systems architects, VSAs, who do social media marketing. You would not even know that they were the one that was doing it. And these are for big companies. I'm talking like franchises that have 50 plus stores. I'm talking very, very high level things that need to be on point with their marketing. Okay, it's huge and it's pretty amazing. They can do lead generation. They can do all different types of marketing. They can do appointment setting. They can talk on the phone with you. They can do bookkeeping. They can do they can do accounting work. Outbound sales, inbound sales. They can do project management. They can do research. They can do a whole host of things. Okay, and Mark, if you have some additional ideas, you can pop that in there on the content as well. Thank you so much, because there's just a ton. Like, we have people doing a whole mess of stuff, and they can do sales. By the way, they can actually sell for you as well. Right? Like actual closing deals, getting on the phone and closing deals. So it's endless. Okay. So best practice tip number 3 is, just so in summary, best practice tip number 3 is, what was it? It was like, Mark, you're good. You know what, just do what I said in the beginning. I totally forgot what I said. Anyway, all right. So I'm not used to like these list podcasts. I'm so used to my stories. Anyway, all right. So in conclusion, we'll just stop with those. But in conclusion, the power of having a virtual systems architect is that you can very quickly show how to do a task, get it documented, whatever it is. Get it documented, and then have someone else do it. Whether it's the virtual systems architect themselves, who are, less than minimum wage in the United States in most states, but still extremely, extremely powerful. Or you can have somebody in the States do it, right? It's all about, basically, I call it the 5-minute cheat code for the E-Myth. Right? It's the 5-minute cheat code for the E-Myth, because if you ever read the book, The E-Myth, the entrepreneur myth, it's all about working on your business instead of in your business. But that sounds nice until you're trying to document 100 processes, and every process takes about 5 hours to document, right? So that always sucks. But if you could do 5 minutes, then that makes a big difference, right? A few, a couple hours worth of video, and you literally have your entire business documented. It's on autopilot. A virtual systems architect is doing all of the tasks. All your other employees are doing all the tasks, and you're able to work on your business and actually do what the E-Myth talks about, right? So it's the 5-minute cheat code to implementing the E-Myth, right? And that's how you have to see this. They are an extension of you. They're literally a clone of you. Whatever you're doing right now, or whatever somebody else is doing right now, definitely, that's how come they're so powerful. I'm going to say one last thing, actually. Mark, you can add this as like best practice number 4. So best practice number 4 is taking ownership of the virtual systems architect process. I've noticed throughout the years that one of the reasons why a client is unsuccessful, and it happens quite a bit, I would say maybe 50% of clients who try to do this fail, because they already suck at delegating in the first place. They already are, they don't understand process. They're not invested in creating processes and stuff. What they do is they will have one of their employees, like maybe a director or someone like that. They'll have somebody who is quote unquote they have somebody who is basically taking over the process. They'll do the videos, they'll work with the virtual systems architect, yada, yada, yada. And what happens is this other person's like, why do I care about this? I don't need any of this. Like, things are going great. Why did you stick this person on me? And because of that, they don't do the videos, or if they do, it's like one or two and that's it. And then the person who became a client is like, these VSAs suck. Like we're not suck, but we're not really getting what we, wanted. And it's because you didn't take ownership. You're expecting somebody else to take this burden, take this responsibility off of you, right? But rather than do that, the way that you do it well is get your stuff fixed first. Take accountability, press the record button on your stuff as the business owner first. Stuff that you want off your plate, stuff that you know. I mean, you have to imagine that you are selling your business to an investor in 30 days at just an insane amount of money. Let's just say, $1 billion. An investor wants to buy it, but they want to buy it fully documented, fully automated, right? That with that type of fire under your butt, then you press the record button on your stuff first. You are the business owner. You have the most important stuff. You start recording everything that you are doing, right? Then you get the documents back. You start seeing how powerful it is. You start freeing up your time, and then you're able to better guide your people to do the same. Over and over and over again, I see business owners wanting to abdicate their responsibility. They want to get rid of that responsibility and delegate it to someone else. Well, guess what? You suck already at delegating. You suck already at process. You wouldn't be a client if that wasn't, or want to be a client if that wasn't already the case. And I'm not saying that in a way that's meant to be demeaning. It's just the truth. It's just where you're at. If I'm overweight, if you say that I'm fat, that's where I'm at. It doesn't mean it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's just you're telling me the truth. I'd rather you say that I'm fat than say, oh, you look great, you look skinny, oh yeah, whatever, and butter me up when it's not true, right? So the reason you're in this mess in the first place is because you're not taking ownership of the process, right? So, that being said, take ownership. Once you start taking ownership, then you can start delegating to the next person, okay? All right, this is Dean Soto. Go check out freedomin5minutes.com. Go check out prosulam.com. And I will see you in the next Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast. Now, head over to www.freedomin5minutes.com and register for our free masterclass and discover how to start systemizing and automating your entire business 5 minutes at a time. We'll see you next time on the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast.